Much as I thought I could plan a podcast, that is not going to happen. I do not have the mindset to sit here, chop up block for block how I'm going to tell you about weight loss and weight gain. Good evening on this Friday, February 12th, 2022. The time is 12:01 a.m. and welcome to Early in the AM with Isha. This episode is going to be about something I know a little bit more about than other things, and that is mental toughness. Mental toughness. I was very sensitive as a kid. I'll start there. I believed everything magical and unicorns in reality scared me half to death. I was scared of fireworks and the truth and reality fighting, the hood stuff. The things that make you tough scared me. Anything unicorns and Care Bears and candy, I was all for it. If I can imagine it in my head or if a cartoon said it, I just believed it. And I spent a good 90% of my life tearing down that persona and then putting the scraps together into something manageable that reality could accept without anarchy or rebellion or rioting ensuing. And it's only so much the public or life in general can accept about a person before they'll totally reject it. And that type of rejection is hard to bounce back from. It's a very thin line. It's about 99.9% rejection. And the part that does accept you, it becomes a very miserable life trying to hold up to a very percentage that's less than 1%. Trying to maintain a standard that's only acceptable. It's so scrutinized, it's so strict. It just peels you. It just keeps peeling you. It peels you till you're at the flesh. You're at the bone, and it starts peeling the bone. I mean, it just doesn't end. It's endless. And finding the strength to be strong is subconscious. It's not even conscious. It's a subconscious strength where you tire through what you thought life was, or what you knew what life was, and it gets to the stored supplies of oxygen. It depletes that. It depletes your vitamins. It depletes all your health. It takes your hair and your skin. It takes your muscles, your six packs, and it pulls down and it starts ripping things out. And it starts, you start smelling from your anus. And you get leaky gut, and the stress just has you looking like a zombie. Mental toughness starts there. David Goggins will tell you the truth. That's good old fashioned grit. Mental toughness comes from good old fashioned grit, just going through it and surviving it. If you wake up the next day after you've really been through something, that's the only proof that you survived it, that you learned anything, as if it didn't kill you. And that's all it is. The worst place you can be, if you're in your head a lot, because I'm in my head a lot, the worst thing you can do is build an existence that doesn't exist outside of yourself. That's one of the worst things you can do. If you live in somewhere in your head that isn't in your immediate environment when you open your eyes, like if you go to sleep and have a dream, that's one thing. Because dreams are random things your mind puts together for whatever the reason. But if you are consciously building sandcastles in your head or living in clouds or things like that, if you blink and outside of that thought, what you see outside of your face, if that's not there, that's one of the worst things you can do to yourself. As a child, it's okay because you're still growing. Your creative mind is forming itself. But once you're of age, that's one of the worst things you can do. If you ever get into a situation where somebody gets in your head and their voice becomes stronger than your own conscious voice, that's another issue. A lot of people go into the Army and the Marines so they can have especially if they know they may be weak in their head, they'll go to some place where leadership is so strong that it builds them from the ground up. Like the army does that. For some people, it overbuilds them and they lose it. Some people, they tried it and it just beat them so bad that they end up growing into like mental illnesses like PTSD and things like that. Some people they build them, they become perfect. That's just a 30 chance. 30% of people who go in the army, they come out fine. The rest of them go in, they're either broke down and beat up, or they're over the top and they're crazy. The energy is erratic. They're like a super killer, a super protein that they just attack things. They just can't stop going forward like that. Those people end up being in the army for life. But anyway, back to mental toughness. The best thing you can do to believe your mental toughness is in the face of adversity, where you're being challenged. A lot of people, when you start building your mental, getting tougher up there, you got to start listening to the corny stuff in your head. A lot of times, you'll think things that may sound so corny if they come out of your mouth. And then you'll dismiss it. You can dismiss it, but if you actually believe the part of your brain that's saying that, you're building up that muscle. You're not building that muscle for it to control your brain. You're building it so the base of wherever those thoughts that you are dismissing are coming from has strength. All of your brain has to be strong, not just the parts that you want. The whole thing has to be that way. So you may start at the corny thoughts, the creative thoughts. Oh my God, I want to go outside and play in the rain with lollipops. I mean, when that sissy stuff, or I shouldn't say sissy, but when those magical type of thoughts come out, you got to believe it to an extent. You believe it so the part of your brain that's entertaining that gets stronger. And then once you hear that, and you know there's health in those thoughts, you move on to the next thing. And you actually believe those thoughts into the next part of your brain. And then this is where the confusion comes out, where you get tempted. Hold on. Okay, so the parts of your brain that challenge you, or the voice that challenges your conscious mind. You go through that battle a lot. A lot of the times it comes from within. Sometimes it comes through abuses you've been through in your life that formulate against that voice. Where it's you, but then it's you attacking yourself at the same time. But it's not because you meant to attack yourself. It's just somebody abused you, and that abuse formulated some type of voice within. Sometimes that voice just attacks you, and then you end up listening to it, and you attack yourself. Then there's that part of your voice that you want to be successful, so you dumb down, and people disrespect you in the name of your job. It's that voice. There's a voice that falls to peer pressure. There's the voice where you do wrong, and then the public punishes you, and you're supposed to grow from your mistakes. But then there's the voice where they never forgive you, and then they're always beating up on you. Then it's the last part of the world where they're never supposed to find this place. These are permanent injuries. These are the people who help in the extinction of God's animals, these things that'll never return. There is a place in the brain that is that place. If the wrong person ever finds this place, it could be your death, your permanent disfigurement, your financial ruin, your psychic, your mental ruin. All of these places exist in your mind, and they don't build all at once. It's a gradual thing. It's a time-consuming thing. And it's not for play. No matter how much you pray and you meditate and you Zen mode, a lot of these growing pains are forged in chaos, and headaches and migraines and voices that tick you off and send you spinning and screaming out of your mouth because you don't know you just look for quiet. A lot of it is compromise, accepting things that'll never, a peace that'll never come. Knowing that social class and caste systems, that depending on the life you live, the job you have, the money you have, the debt you will never have the peace of someone who makes more than you or comes from a richer family. You're not afforded, you're not allowed to have certain luxuries, certain silences, certain pieces, certain health in your chakras. Knowing that if you ever been abused, or if you abuse drugs, or if you get locked up in the streets, that a part of your health belongs to the streets, and you can't hide from that. You can't build something in your head if you're in the streets. It'll just become another place to store drugs. You don't want to be so drugged in and out that you can't find your own chaos at the end. That you're just indebted to chaos after chaos that doesn't even belong to you. Mental toughness is a race after a race. It's a marathon. It's a set of completenesses. Completing ugly things, completing tough things, completing things that, let's say the max weight you can carry on your shoulders is 50 pounds. It's somebody hitting you with 51 pounds day after day. And every single time they hit you, it cracks you a little bit more, and it gets a little bit deeper. And they keep hitting you. You keep feeling your foundation crack. But you don't lose sight of where the crack is going. And you accept that it hurts. In your consciousness, you know it hurts. In your consciousness, you know that you got to keep going. That's mental toughness. Even when it hits you at that place where you buckle down and you hit your knees. And then you buckle down again and you're face down, you can barely breathe. But this person just keeps hitting you, it keeps hitting you. A lot of times you have to keep taking it. A lot of times, they just keep hitting you, and you gotta wait for them to tire out. I went through that a long time, somebody having a grudge on me. I feel like this is never forgotten. I just keep taking it till they just tired of it, or the situation just got destroyed, or both of us were just no good in it. Our bodies were of no use in it. And then you have to stand up with all those cracks in you, and people can see the cracks in you. And then it's learning how to present yourself with those cracks. Even though you're twitching, certain lights hit you and you twitch, and the things you go to in the name of normalcy. And normalcy is, believe me, a lot of people are normal, but normal is a scar of people who've been through very supernatural things, going through supernatural pain and supernatural tests, supernatural ordeals and supernatural catastrophes. And it hits you, and the whole thing just becomes a scar. And the name of that scar is called normalcy. The tests were so surreal, so powerful, so strong, that it deforms you in realms that you didn't even know exist. And because those realms are now destroyed, and within you in that fact, you become normal without them. And that's the normalcy you live in. Mental toughness is, when you become mental tough, your brain becomes a muscle like your arm is a muscle. It's not even a thinking place anymore. It's just a rock that knows how to bounce off of insults or pain. It becomes a monster in itself, where somebody insults you and the brain says, oh, I want more of it. Believe me, people who are at that stage have been doing it for years at that point. I'm at that point too, but I'm so soft. It kind of makes it seem like I'm feminine. I think I'm real feminine with that type of thing, which is terrible. Mental toughness is calm. It's very calm. When you become mental